Hey, it's Hawker on Foot. Today we're going to Chinatown Complex. So it's about a 7-kilometer trek. Let's go.
Today we're visiting two hawker centers that are very near to each other, Chinatown Complex and Maxwell Food Center. The walk was actually almost 8 kilometers from Toa to Chinatown Complex, and it took me a little over 2.5 hours. My pace was about 5 minutes per kilometer slower than usual because I stopped a lot to see some cool stuff like this. This is a small fitness zone near our block, and there are many of these stations scattered throughout our area, making it super accessible. These are machines for working out, and they have adjustable hydraulic resistance on them, and they're great to have when the weather is nice. Just around the corner, I wanted to share this sign that you might not see every day. Please do not set free poultry here. There are chickens roaming around. We hear roosters crowing in the morning. It's a thing. As we follow my partner Lynn around the corner, we see a resident has made a small garden. Lynn is definitely better at identifying these plants than I am. She says this one looks like grapes and this one is bananas. Jumping ahead, I saw this gazebo that I didn't see the last time I walked here. It's right next to the expressway, so you can enjoy the smooth sounds of the traffic river. I recorded this because I'm not sure what it is. In the US, if there were photos near the road like this, it was probably in memory of someone who died on the road in that area, and I was just curious if that's what this is, or maybe you can let me know in the comments. Going ahead across the expressway and through Balestier is pretty straightforward. We walked by some construction, which is near this small mosque. We also passed a small church and also a small temple as well. I wanted to show this thing that I occasionally see around town at pedestrian crossings. Here we see some familiar instructions, but check this out. Elderly and disabled folks can get a card that they can tap to make the crossing times a little longer so they can cross the street safely. They just tap the card here, boop, and they get a little bit more time to cross. Jumping ahead a bit to Little India, we walked by the Fu Chao Methodist Church, which has been here since 1938, but was completely rebuilt after taking some irreparable damage from the shelling of World War II. Little India has a lot of color, from the hanging flowers in the shops to massive murals throughout the neighborhood like this one. I had to share this. I thought it was really beautiful. It was quite interesting as well. I stopped here because I thought it was an interesting building, might be a synagogue or something. It is the Ellison building, built in 1924 by a Jewish man for his wife. And just behind this, I saw this burning can, and I was hoping someone could explain what's going on here. Maybe explain in the comments. There, it looks just like a burning can. A few meters further down Salegi Road is the 10 Square Landmark of Good, which looks like a car vending machine. It's pretty cool in person. I put their Instagram page in the description because it looks really awesome at night. I want to come back and check it out. Just across from 10 Square Landmark of Good is the Peace Center, which has some special memories for me. There used to be a 24-hour food court in the basement where musicians would come after our late night gigs, and this is where I was introduced to Kaya Toast, and it also served as my first hang with some local jazz legends. It's unfortunately earmarked for renovation and is permanently closed, but still pretty special. Going down a bit further toward Dhobi Ghat MRT station, I saw this sign that said FML, and it's just here behind the School of Arts, which I'm sure is a coincidence. This walk has brought back a couple of memories for me. This was actually the first hotel I stayed at in Singapore when I came through in 2006 at the Rendezvous Hotel. In that billboard space, there was a huge Tag Heuer ad featuring Brad Pitt. A few meters further down, I decided to walk by the Singapore Management University campus, which is across from the National Museum of Singapore. There are over 50 museums in Singapore, and sometimes they have similar names. For example, this is the National Museum of Singapore, which is quite different from the National Gallery. There's also a Singapore Art Museum that is very different from the Art Science Museum. This campus is so green and beautiful, and there's this cool phrase on the running track that got my attention. It says, "Excuses don't burn calories, running does." Indeed. As we leave the greenery of the SMU campus, we jump ahead to the Parliament House, which is across from the flying saucer that rests atop of the new Supreme Court building. What is in that UFO? Let me know in the comments. As we cross the Singapore River, we can see the iconic Marina Bay Sands, which means obligatory selfie. As we get closer to Clarke Quay around lunchtime, we see there's a crowd forming for some Bak Kut Teh. This Song Fa outlet on Newbridge Road is one of the 79 outlets in Singapore to receive a Michelin Bib Gourmand distinction. I'm not sure how it works exactly because Song Fa is a chain with 13 locations, 2 of which are here on Newbridge Road. The Michelin website only acknowledges the outlet we passed on the corner. There is a saying in Singapore that if you want to know the best place to eat, just find out where the people are queuing, and both of these outlets on Newbridge look to be attracting a lot of business. I'm gonna come back and try it out at some point. It's hard to see, but the road opposite is called U Tong Sen Street, and we are still on Newbridge Road. From this point headed east, this continuous road goes through several name changes. Here we're on Newbridge, then it turns to Hill Street, then Victoria Street, up to Kalong Road, then Gaylong Road, then Changi, you get it. As we head closer to the heart of Chinatown, we see Bi Cheng Hiang. Bi Cheng specializes in bak kwa, which is a kind of sweet and smoky pork jerky. It's a very common souvenir for people to bring back, and there are many outlets around the city, including several at Changi Airport. On the wall near the Smith Street entrance to Chinatown Complex is this mural called Letter Writer by YC, whose murals you can find all across Singapore, and his style often begs for some interaction, but I couldn't get Lynn to pretend sit on the chair on this one. Heading into Chinatown Complex, on the first story, there are mostly retail and market stalls selling clothes, trinkets, souvenirs, similar things, and the food is on the second story. There are 226 food stalls here, making it Singapore's largest hawker center, and of those 226 stalls, 6 have the Michelin Bib Gourmand distinction. Although it was recently renovated, there's still quite a rustic charm to the Chinatown complex. Let's take a look and see what we feel like eating. Here we see some nets, which is designed to keep the birds out. Birds are a common pest for most of the hawker centers around town, so this netting is pretty useful. Lynn ended up ordering a beef noodle from Shanghai Xiaolong Bao. She actually wanted the dim sum, but the wait was too long. I ended up ordering a duck rice from Cow Car Water Soya Sauce Chicken. This is a cash only stall, and the uncle was super friendly, and he seems to have been doing this for some time. I also ordered some mixed satay from the Michelin recognized CMY satay stall. And this is how it came out. Lynn said the beef noodle was a little bit bland and might want to add chili next time. There were a lot of small bones in my duck rice, and I probably would try a different dish from there if I went back. The satay was absolutely perfect. Notice the chunks of fat between the pork here. Just melts in your mouth. Absolutely delicious. But we're not finished. It's time to head over to Maxwell Food Center. On the way out, I wanted to show this sign because touting to me is like bragging, which wouldn't be a terrible thing to ban, but it is a little bit weird. So I've since learned that touting is actually aggressive solicitation, and that's a nice thing to ban, so we can eat in peace. As we were leaving Chinatown Complex, there was this awesome mural with the word Shoke at the bottom. I don't really hear Shoke being used too often, or maybe I'm just used to it already. I don't personally use it because I sound a bit disingenuous. The walk from Chinatown Complex to Maxwell Food Center is very short. They are practically across the street from one another. I forgot to stop my Garmin, so ignore the squiggles, please. Just across from the Chinatown Complex is the Buddha Tooth Relic Temple and Museum. If you've never been inside, it is definitely worth going and checking out. Along the side of the temple, we see this gorgeous display of red plates, which I believe will be filled with food for offerings later. And here we see the temple from across the street. And here we are at Maxwell Food Center. Across the street on this side of the hawker is the Urban Redevelopment Authority, or URA building, and also home to my favorite museum in town, the Singapore City Gallery. Inside there is a scale model of Singapore City Center, among other insights on how the city's designed. So let's find some the first thing I noticed coming into Maxwell was this guy had a scarf on, which is a crazy dedication to fashion in this heat. I also realized as I started doing my usual walkthrough that there are probably a lot of videos of this hawker because it's super touristy, so I chose to forego the recording and just order some food. I think thoughts of Song Fa Bak Kut Teh were still dancing around in my head, so I ordered some Bak Kut Teh from this guy. It really hit the spot. The meat was super tender and it wasn't so heavy, so it capped off the excursion quite nicely. Check out how clean these bones are. Just right. Nothing left to do but to check the boxes. Today, it's a big day. We're checking off 3 off the Hello Singapore Food Tours card. So today we had duck rice and satay at Chinatown Complex, and we had Bak Kut Teh at Maxwell Food Center. If you want to check off boxes with me, I put the link to Hello Singapore Tours below, and you can get a card like this and come check off boxes with me. And that was our walk to Chinatown Complex and Maxwell Food Center. If you have a hawker center you want me to try out, please let me know. Send me a message, put a comment in, whatever it is. Or if you want to meet me somewhere, we can grab some lunch. I'm happy to entertain all those ideas. If you have something you want me to try, if there's some food you want me to try out, please let me know. I'm up for almost anything. So looking forward to hearing from you. Later.